Since its foundation more than 20 years ago, Pacifica has been built on the pillars of truth, beauty, and goodness. Our salutatorians and valedictorian this year embody these pillars. They have become effective communicators. They've become excellent scholars, joyful learners, responsible citizens, and virtuous and courageous young men and women. We happen to have 5 salutatorians this year, which is an honor, and we crafted together one cohesive speech that you will hear from the 5 of them, which will be followed by our valedictory address. So please welcome our first salutatorian, Mr. Drew Gerold.
Every freshman at Pacifica takes an Old Testament class. Going into a class named Old Testament, one might expect to learn about the beginning of Genesis, the prophets, and more about, well, the Old Testament. But somehow, I walked into that class one day and was learning about things like Modus Tollens arguments and ad hominem fallacies. They have something to do with logic, but I couldn't tell you what they mean anymore. Now, I'm still not entirely sure if logic is related to Old Testament, but I do know that from the very first semester, the entire Pacifica faculty has been committed to giving me and my classmates the toolbox we need to be effective communicators in the world. This commitment continued all the way up to the last semester of our time here at Pacifica, as Mrs. Savage squeezed out every ounce of detail and sophistication we could muster in our AP Literature essays by bribing us with mini toy unicorns. And while we have all learned a lot about communicating in the classroom, what I think is more important is the opportunities we've had for conversations. From study periods where unexpected friendships always seem to form, to retreat bus rides that have turned into rap battles and word game marathons, to school trips abroad and to places closer to home, there always seemed to be an opportunity to strengthen a bond with a close friend, connect with a classmate you had never really talked to before, or realize that a teacher is slightly cooler than you had previously expected. So as we head off on our vastly different journeys, don't forget the value of a conversation. Everyone has a story. There is always more you can learn about a person to better understand them and better understand yourself. Now, to discuss the value of scholarship, Sage Ervin.
All right. Hello, everyone. Okay. I left every AP Physics class largely confused. Yet, one concept that stuck out to me was inertia, the difficulty of a moving object to stop. Similarly, in an education system where worth seems to be measured by efficiency and accomplishing tasks, it's easy for a mindset to form of continual forward motion, where life is looked at through the lens of what there is to get done, where there is to go, and what there is to do. However, Pacifica recognizes that excellent scholars are not those who are able to put great things on their resume, but those who have the ability to ponder deeply about the nature of the world and themselves, the humility to know what they don't know, and the curiosity to figure it out. And in order to do this, you have to be able to stop. Stop. What has brought me the greatest growth is not the information I know, but when I came to understand a new perspective in Mr. Roberson's philosophy class, or talking with my friends during the study period Ms. K finally convinced me to take, or simply alone with my thoughts during chapel every week. Pacifica builds in spaces to stop, to be unproductive on paper so that we can be productive in leading fulfilling lives. However, despite the wonderful emphasis Pacifica puts on the person you are rather than what you do, this perspective of continual forward motion, of always looking to the future and never feeling enough can still linger. I have fallen into this trap many times, constantly feeling like a work in progress or a placeholder for the more talented, more productive person I wanted to be. What I must continually remind myself, and hope to remind you all, is that is that time will keep moving, but we don't have to help it along by always focusing on what is to come rather than what we have right now. We are on the verge of adulthood, as scary as that sounds, and our responsibilities and the things to get done and the things to aim for will only increase. I'm sure a lot of people are getting questions similar to, what are you going to do? What are your plans for the future? And then you have to awkwardly respond, I'm not sure yet, I'll probably figure it out later. Or if you do know, I envy you. But the focus is already being put on the future, on what you will accomplish then. And while striving to succeed and to achieve your goals is important, it can't come from a feeling that you've got to get somewhere to be worth something, because it isn't true. Because in reality, there's actually nowhere to get to. You've already arrived. That is why I'm so happy we have this one day to just stop, look back, and recognize how much we have already grown, that what the future holds is extra on top of the wonderful moments we already have, and that through the grace of God, we are whole exactly as we are in this very moment. Now, talking about another essential piece of education, joy in learning, is Vyvien Estes, the most joyful person I know.
Education in California has been mandatory for children since 1874, which is crazy to think that, because that is before my great-grandmother, who lived to be 100, was ever even born. So for the last 13 or so years of our lives, we have not chosen to be students. It was chosen for us. Though there is a long tradition of mandatory education, there has been an even longer tradition of kids hating education. School can't be mentioned without a consistent negative connotation. Yet, for all of the bad press that education gets in the media, at Pacifica, I think you would be hard-pressed to find someone who truly disliked their time here. Now, please don't mistake me by saying that there are never tough moments in a Pacifican's education. Each one of us on the stage has had bad moments when we were disappointed by a test score and bad days when we seemed to be beaten down by life. But these negative parts are simply that, a part of life. The difference at Pacifica is our focus on joy. Joy in the small moments, the big moments, the loud and the quiet. Joy that is not constant happiness, but comes from the security of knowing who God is, entirely, fully, and completely good. At Pacifica, we have more to depend on than ourselves. Our teachers have shown us this through their education, for their enthusiasm for our education and the well-being of our lives. I've especially seen this in Magistra Scobie's consistent and sincere asking of, how are you doing today? Quid agitis hodie, to each of our students at the beginning of each class, enriching our language skills through talking about our lives in Latin, while showing her deep care for each of our lives. Really, I don't even need to single out any teachers as an example, because every student on this stage behind me has had at least one story of how a teacher at Pacifica has changed their lives for the better through their genuine care, a care that students and faculty have because they have security in who God is. The joy we see so clearly in the lives of our teachers has passed on to us to enrich our education. As Pacifica students, we see this collective care, even if subconsciously, which propels us to do better on each other's behalves. The class of 2025 is made up of 65 students who would be nowhere without each other. As we move on from high school, our education is now completely in our hands. Whether that be obtaining multiple degrees or watching a YouTube video on how to change a car's oil, it will all be important to us for the well-being of our lives. And it is my sincere hope that in college and beyond, we can find and build relationships with people who will help us to continue to interact with the world based around this same gift of joy and learning that Pacifica has provided for us. Let us not see our future opportunities to educate ourselves as a burden, but as a gift we accept joyfully and attempt to make the most of it. So to continue, Lexi Sexton will talk about the value of responsibility.
During our freshman year transitions course in the summer of 2021, Mr. Comer depicted our high school years as 8 semesters in a womb, with graduation representing our birth into the unsheltered, raw world. Now, this is kind of an unsettling image, especially unsettling because the day has finally arrived. Not only that, but we're on the brink of so much change. It could be a change in our zip codes, our mindsets, or our hygiene habits without the watchful eye of a concerned parent to keep us accountable. But in some way, we are all losing the stability that most of us became so dependent on and accustomed to for the past 18 years. Each of us entered high school as wide-eyed, clueless freshmen, most with a lack of confidence and a select few with an abundance of it, but all eager to form bonds and find our group. To my dismay, the transition into adulthood will be similar in this way. The awkward introductions and desperation to make friends will be making its return. However, while it may be the same logistically, we are not the same. We exit as seniors who have been transformed by the people we've surrounded ourselves with. Our communities during high school have defined our Pacifica experiences. Our family members, best friends, and most influential teachers are those that have witnessed and encouraged our growth. As we look for new communities elsewhere, the experiences of the love and joy we have previously received will enlighten our judgment, despite the ambiguity of the future. On one of the last pages of Crime and Punishment, a book we read in Mrs. Savage's AP Lit class, Raskolnikov reflects on his future with Sonia, thinking how much unbearable torment still lay ahead of them, how much endless happiness, but he'd been raised to life and he knew it. For each of us, most of the tears, laughter, late nights, early mornings, introductions, goodbyes, breakdowns, triumphs, and joy are still to come. As we hurl our caps into the air and acknowledge the intangible ticking clock indicating the end of our time in the comfort of the womb, we are being raised to life. We are being birthed. And yet, the people who have made the most indelible imprints on our character and heart will still be there as whispers in the back of our minds. We have a responsibility to them and to ourselves to exemplify their best qualities as we navigate the individual tomorrows that God has planned for us. Congratulations, class of 2025, we did it. And now to discuss the value of virtue and courage is Zoe DeBenning.
Thank you. I think I speak for everybody in this room when I say that I hate paper straws. To me, they have turned many delicious iced coffees and Diet Cokes into insufferable, mushy messes. I'm convinced that the only reason we still use them is that we like giving others the impression that we care about turtles. Don't get me wrong, I believe that we all have a responsibility to care for the world God has given us, but I've had it up to here with virtue signaling. If you didn't know, virtue signaling is publicly performing an action for the purpose of showing others how virtuous we are. We are tempted to lie in our college applications, to stretch our extracurriculars to appear more worthy of a university acceptance, and we often spend more time crafting Instagram posts about the conflict in the Middle East rather than actually seeking to understand it. It's all around us, and we can all agree it's performative and fake. But in my short time here, I want to redeem the concept of virtue signaling. I want us to see that there is another kind of virtue signaling that is actually good, true, and beautiful. And Pacifica has shown it to us in our 4 years here. Rather than virtue signaling as pretending to be virtuous so others see us, I want us to see that there is another kind of virtuous signaling that is good. Pacifica has signaled to us what it looks like to live a virtuous life. This is virtue signaling at its best. We saw it first in our curriculum. From Andromache's sacrifice for her son in Trojan Women, to Mary Wollstonecraft's advocacy for women's education, to Augustine's heartfelt vulnerability in Confessions, Pacifica signaled to these virtuous and courageous men and women. But these virtuous people don't simply exist as pages in our textbooks. We also saw virtue embodied in our faculty. Mr. Benedetto, you showed me fortitude, the value of hard work and persistence through difficulty. Mrs. Scobie, Magistra, you showed me gratitude, the value of thankfulness in a world that encourages comparison. And Miss Miller, you showed me courage, to always keep laughing and to be confident. You have all signaled to me what virtue looks like in real life. And because of you, Pacifica, we seniors have been able to see it in each other. Javin, you showed me selflessness and your commitment to helping out anyone with a film project, no matter their skill level. Caden, you showed me consistent faith even in the midst of suffering. And Lexi, you showed me how to be genuinely kind. No matter how annoying or difficult of a person, you refuse to stop loving them. Through our curriculum, our faculty, and one another, we have signaled towards virtue, and in the process, we have become more virtuous. I have become more virtuous. But it would be a mistake for us to leave here thinking that virtue is simply following the right rules and looking to each other. In order for us to continue to aim at virtue, we need a picture of it that isn't at the whims of our own subjectivity. And this may be Pacifica's greatest gift of all. Pacifica showed me Christ, and Christ embodies perfect virtue. So, class of 2025, let's keep pursuing virtue, and let's keep signaling to virtue. And when we begin to get confused or to lose our way about how to get there, let's remember what we saw here, and let's look to Jesus, the one who has lived it out perfectly.